you?
I'm great. Hi Sharon. Always fun to be with you.
Thank you. You too. We've got Jack with us today. Hopefully he'll be a good boy.
He's good company.
He's giving me some loving energy
he's
to
very
make sure
loving.
this works well.
Very fluffy.
Well, this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about dating
Yes.
and loving energy. So
Yes.
this is why we have Jack here. So we're going to be talking about the 5 common mistakes that women make in relationships.
Yes.
And you work with a lot of women and a lot of men. And
I work with a lot of men and women, and so I've been very blessed for a few decades now of working with men and women on their relationships, their relationship with themselves primarily, their vibration, and their today we're going to talk a little bit about dating mistakes that women make, and then another time we'll talk about men. So I work with men and women, but my work attracts more females. So I have been privileged to listen to some of the pain and struggles that women go through. And so there's a theme to it, and I thought we could share that today. Hopefully it'll benefit the viewers, and we can have this, once we raise awareness, we can make new choices, because we all make mistakes in dating, don't we?
Oh,
yeah.
I've done it many times.
Yeah, I know it well.
So Robert, one of the things that you say is to let men hunt. What do you mean by that?
Well, one of the things I notice is that women in the modern world are very powerful, and I'm a feminist, so I think it's great. I've always wanted a society where men and women were equal, and it's more so today. But when I grew up, it wasn't like that. And when I remember being 8 years old, saying to my mother, it's not fair. Women aren't treated with the same respect. And my mother would look at me like coming out of an 8-year-old. But I just always knew it was wrong. And then in my lifetime, I saw the emerging of the feminist movement, and I've always been for it. We have now a society now where a lot of women, especially in the West, are very powerful. And when they go to work, they run businesses, and they're executives and surgeons, and they do amazing things, which they always could. And but they often, a lot of women today, get into their male energy. So I think that if women are very forward in dating, a lot of times the man doesn't have to work for it. So in the male, in our DNA, is this hunter. We want to hunt for the woman and feel like we've sort of captured something beautiful that's not necessarily so readily available. But if women are too forward, and I like to use the analogy, if men go out fishing, they like to get the bait and they hook the worm, they throw it out, and they're waiting. They don't know how many fish they're going to catch. But if a group of men went out on a boat in the middle of a lake, and all of a sudden 20 trout jumped in the boat, then there's no hunt. And so I think sometimes I notice that the women are a little bit too forward and too anxious. And I think that if they step back a little bit, it makes the man wonder, oh, I'm going to have to work for this. They're not such spoiled brats. And so I think that's important, that let the man, it's not that you play games or you withhold or, withdraw. You just, give space for let the man come get you.
Yeah.
And then if you really want to be with him and you are with him, he's going to have a sense of fulfillment that we often don't see in the modern world. Yeah.
You also talk about letting the man be the man. What do you really mean by that?
Well, if you have very strong women and they want to feel safe, then when they come home from the office, they have to turn down the masculine doing and turn up the feminine and allow that man to stand up and hold the space for her. Women never feel safe with a weak man. So if she absolutely needs to dominate and she wants a softer man, then there's nothing wrong with that. But he's not going to be holding that space. She's not going to be able to feel 100% able to give over and to be held by him because she's always in control. So I think that women, modern day women, if they rethink that, they can say, well, I'll let him be in his power. I don't need to cut his legs off. Let him stand in his truth. Doesn't mean you agree with everything he says and all that, but you get a sense of, we are equal. We have shared power, but I want him to stand in his manhood, and if I want to be in my feminine, my vulnerability, that I'll feel safe to give over to him. That's really all I mean by that.
Yeah, okay.
It often doesn't happen today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can really relate to that because I'm looking at past relationships, and I've been a very dominant woman, and you know, because that was my wounding.
Yeah.
And that's all I knew. But I've learnt that actually to get the more out of a partner, I had to be much more vulnerable, and that was a very, very painful lesson for me because it was so unnatural. But it's so, when you can get there, it's so fulfilling, and not only in a one-on-one relationship with your partner, but with your friends as well. It works.
It's
everywhere.
really true, because if we have equality and vulnerability, then there's going to be an intimate connection. And if it's a romantic connection, then there's going to be the physical contact. But if it's just a close friend, even then, if you treat that person with equality and you're vulnerable, you're really sharing what your feelings are, male or female, then that friend, same sex, opposite sex, doesn't matter, is going to feel, oh, well, you know, she's really human. He's really human. I can connect. They have, you know, they're in as much pain as me.
Yeah.
So there's a better bond.
Now, next question. I've never heard this terminology before. Flying boys.
All right.
And you say avoid them. What do you mean by this?
Well,
who are they?
I think it comes down to...
Do they have a sign on their head saying, I'm a flying boy?
No, but they have certain patterns that are very common. There's a book called The Flying Boys by John Lee, which is very old, but I thought he depicted it really well. A lot of men have a sexual wound. What I really mean is they have a wound with their mother, and they're angry. And so they're very sort of focused on being seductive with women. And they can be very charming. You know, they're very forward in asking women out, and their intentions are often just superficial. And you know, some women, you know, sort of they sort of get swept off their feet, and they say they're looking for a relationship. But I have met so many women who go from flying boy to flying boy, and they feel devastated. They feel hurt. They feel used. You know, women are important. Their bodies are temples. They're the givers of life. And if a woman hooks up with enough flying boys, they're going to feel used, no matter how much work they do on themselves. I remember one of my teachers, Barbara D. English. This is going back into the 80s when I first started on my personal development journey. She would say to the women, she would like chastise them. She says, yes, we want equality, but not in our sexuality, because we're getting entered. And so if you're running around with flying boys, all their angry mummy energy is going into you. And their womb will hold it. And after a while, the woman starts to feel yucky and used. So yes, we want equal pay. Women, you know, Hillary Clinton was almost the president, you know. We have a lot of women in powerful positions, and that's the way it should be. But in the sexuality, if the woman's being entered by a guy whose heart is closed, she'll feel yucky later. So if the guy wants to be a flying boy, that's his journey, that's his karma. He'll end up wherever he ends up. But if a woman can see, you know, I ask them to ask questions like, what are you looking for? So are you, there's three things. Are you looking for a fling? Are you looking for a workout relationship? Now, workout relationships are important, Sharon. They often last 6 months to 24 months, where a man and a woman get together. They may realize they don't share the same values or long-term goals, but there's an attraction and a deep friendship, and they work things out, and after it ends, after a year, whatever it is, they're still friends. But if someone is, flying boys are sort of giving the impression that they're looking for someone special, but they're really looking for someone special to have sex with for a while, and then they move on. So I think that, you know, if every time a woman says no to a flying boy, my experience, her self-esteem goes up, and her vibration gets bigger, and she's saying to the universe, I want the real deal.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to have that no. Even though he may be charming the pants off of you, just say no.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because I think a lot of women don't realise that we act out from trauma that we've had, and if our pattern is attracting a flying boy, and we haven't learnt our lesson, we're only going to attract another one and another one and another one
They
and
come
another
out of the
one
woodwork.
until we change something within ourselves.
Yes.
And it's only when we change that thing within ourselves that we're actually going to feel worthy, or going to have some
Self-love.
self-love, or
Yeah.
whatever it is that we need within us that we feel that we're lacking, that we're getting from them.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change unless we change that. And I know that this is what you help people do on your course.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing to do, because you know, so many of us can get stuck in the loop of creating the same reality over and over again.
We're creatures of habit.
Unless we create that change, we're always going to do that.
Our vibration gets stuck in a
Yeah.
rut, and we keep attracting the same, business partners that let us down, attracting the wrong type of clients or customers if we're in business,
Yeah.
or an abusive boss, or these patterns. Of course, it relates back often to Mama Bear and Papa Bear.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, at some point, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And we're talking about dating today, so with women in dating, they have to see themselves as a goddess and raise their vibration and say to themselves every day in their affirmations and their meditations is that I deserve the best. I'm a goddess, I'm beautiful, I have a lot to offer, and I don't want to be someone's toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And stop sacrificing themselves. Make that decision to stop sacrificing yourself.
Yeah, that's really important. I'm glad we're getting this message out.
Yeah.
It may seem like we're dwelling on the obvious, but it's happening constantly and continuously to beautiful women. Yeah.
So you also talk about stop rushing relationships. I know many of us get stuck in a thing of, or it's 3 months, this should have happened, it's 6 months after that. We should be engaged, we should have made a family. And what advice do you give about that?
Well, men do this too.
Yeah.
A lot of times men who rush into things also rush out. So you have to look out for that. But it's a different energy in a male. For a lot of times for women, I've had compassion with so many women because people are, in today's world, people are having families later in life. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. But with the women, she's got a biological clock ticking that men don't have. I have a beautiful teenage son, and I kind of traveled the world living out of a suitcase doing healing work, and I never thought about a biological clock. And I had my son in my 40s. He's the best thing that ever happened to me, but the timing, the biological timing, wasn't a concern for me. But so many of my clients are well into their 30s, early 40s, and they're feeling this sense of, I'd love to have a baby. I'm 40 and I'm running out of time. What should I do? And so they might find a really nice guy and they're dating 3 weeks, but they want that, they're pushing the guy to have that relationship to be where that's going to be in 3 months. And when they're at 3 months, they want the relationship to be where it's going to be after 3 years. So as I said earlier, we men are dinosaurs. We model along. We've got to, it has to be kind of like when we're ready emotionally. And so women who have this clock ticking, or women who are impatient, they want their life partner. They want to be loved. I understand all that. But when they put that little bit of pressure on, like little gun to the head, to the male, then a lot of times he'll back off. It has the opposite effect of what she wants.
It's too needy.
It's too needy, and of course, like a lot of women will say, "I know I'm doing it, but I can't stop, Robert. What should I do?" And so then you have to look deep inside. What is compelling me? What inside of me is pushing? I need to let it unfold and not be attached. And if he's not the guy, that's okay. I'm still amazing if he's not the guy. And you'll find out, if it's not after 3 weeks, you'll find out after 3 months, you'll have a better idea. And certainly by 6 months, you'll know where this guy's coming from. And you can see, is he going to step in? Is he going to man up and claim me as his woman? Or is he just, kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Does he still have mommy issues? He's doesn't know how to commit. She has to find out.
So you help people in relationships. You help men and you help women.
Yes.
Today we're talking about women. So if there's any ladies out there that really want to work on themselves to get the relationships that they want in their life, where will they be able to find you?
Well, I just want to mention that Heartfelt Relationships is a course that I created 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I've facilitated it in countries around the world, and I love doing it because in 1 day, people can make a huge shift, organic shift in their relationship with themselves. So it's for single ladies and single men, but it's also for people who are in a relationship who want the quality of that relationship to go deeper, who want a deeper emotional, spiritual connection with their partner. You know, they want to put another log on the fire, and they have some stuff to clear. Because we all have baggage, don't we? Even when we're in a committed relationship, we carry our baggage over.
We do.
So this relationship is free. It's one day. It's typically on a Saturday in Sydney. They can look, there's a couple places they can look. Relationships.robertkirby.com. They can see when the next one is. We run it every couple months. Or they could email Shayla, who runs my office, and that's info@robertkirby.com. They can email. If they have questions about relationships, they can ask me at robert@robertkirby.com. Happy to answer any question. But if you want to sign up for the workshop, if you have access to Sydney, and we can come and work face to face, it's really exciting. Because you meet, it's not like a singles networking. It's not about that. It's really deep work, working on yourself, on your core issues in relationships. So that's why it's fun. Because I love to see what happens when people come in at 9 o'clock and when they go home at 5 o'clock. It's really a different vibration, a different energy. So that's where they can reach me. And it's always great to hang out with you, Sharon.
You too, and I know that we're going to be doing the men next, so we're going to be talking about men.
Yes, all right, so we'll talk about mistakes that we are just very clumsy in relationships. So we'll talk about that next.
Cool, thank you so much for coming in today.
All right, thank you. Blessings.